Before we get into the nitty-gritty conversation about masturbation, and trust me, it gets nitty and also gritty. The girl on
and then it's him doing the gritty as a form of self-pleasure. Max, I gotta stop talking. I'm a little late to filming today because about half an hour ago, I had two random people walk up on my driveway and get in a fight. So I had to deal with that. Luckily, I'm not afraid of altercation, and my Ring camera got all of it. You can't really see too much because it's a Ring camera, but that's me walking up on two people who were just throwing their bags around in my driveway. Anyway, the time I made a video explicitly about Jake Doolittle, what happened was a lot of my comments alluded to something that I'd never seen before. They alluded to the time Jake Doolittle and his girlfriend were on stream together, and Jake Doolittle was a little weird about how much of her test she was showing. I went back and I watched it because it's not something that I wanted to talk about if I didn't know about it. And I think that maybe people might just be remembering it a little wrong, or I'm taking it a lot lighter than it was, but it seems like it's just the relationship and that's kind of how they joke around. Does he make weird jokes and like weird movements and sounds? Yeah, but that's like him. He's like a quirked up white boy, right? Like that's the whole aesthetic. Like these are people who are loud, not funny. So for him to just like make noises isn't really like a big deal to me, but I will show that to you all so you all can make your own judgment before we get into what's actually happening today.
This is Hannah. Oh my God, your boobs are out.
They're not, and not a comment I would have made, but I don't know the relationship, so I'm not gonna like judge that too harshly. Like she takes it well, I think.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Sorry, guys.
Hubba.
Yeah, so that was what people were commenting about. Is it weird? Sure, but he's a weird dude. I don't think it's like a problematic thing. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know them. That didn't feel aggressive. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, Jake, how could you? What I am going to go, Jake, how could you about is, oh man. Yesterday's stream was a 5-hour stream, which culminated in about an hour and 20 minutes of Girl Defined. Oh, talking about masturbation. And the reason I wanted to watch that video is because I saw Jake Doolittle make a video on it. And if there's anyone I want to see react or comment to conservative Christians talk about anything sexual, it's someone who is uncomfortable talking about anything sexual but puts himself in a position to do so anyway. I don't want to go into this with too much of like a negative preconceived notion of Jake. I think I've made it pretty clear how I feel about the man, and I don't think it's irredeemable at all. I think he's young and I think he's weird, and I think if he just like chilled for a minute, he'd be fine. And I think he could come back to the internet and be just as successful as he once was. He would just have to let go of a lot of like making every single thing about himself and then grow out of the way that he judges people for very normal actions or actions that he would not do himself. So then he says, why would you do that? I wouldn't.
Girl Defined is back with their worst video yet. Hi, sisters.
Hi, sisters. Apparently that's a James Charles reference. I was not on the internet for that time. If you've noticed, I like going through older videos because I am learning about all of these people for the first time. Girl Defined being back with their worst video is incredible praise, and I hope he's right. I hope this is as bad as they get, but I've been told that they get much, much worse.
Hi, sisters. Today we're going to be talking about a YouTube channel named Girl Defined. You must have heard of them by now. If you haven't, you've literally been living under a rock.
I'm going to say it again. I'm not the audience for people like Jake. I'm just not. And so some of the things I say aren't critical. They're just me hating, and I get that. So when he goes, a rock, like it's too much for me, but I understand that there are people who like that stuff, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just easily annoyed. That's a me problem. Also with the clip earlier between him and his now fiance, a couple of people were like, oh, I'm afraid that he might hurt her if he's crashing out. I'm going to be very honest and say, I don't think Jake could hurt a fly, and not because he wouldn't try to, but because like if he and a fly got in a fight, Jake would lose. So I don't know that I should be worried about her at all. I think they're probably fine. And he doesn't seem like his inattention on the internet has leaked out into his personal life. I don't know. I won't know. But I think unless she says something or we see something more concrete, then we should probably not make assumptions about him being dangerous. Like in a very honest way, I do think that if they got into an altercation, she would be able to defend herself. If his knee is to him what my neck is to me, little jab. Like, I'm so confident in my ability to fight. I spent 8 years of my life wrestling. However, if you bend my neck back, I will not be able to move. And so if you tickle his knee, he's just out, right? So I think she will be fine.
A-Rock. Their description says, we're two sisters passionate about helping Christian women discover what it means to become girls defined by God. And by that, they mean a 49-minute video about masturbation. That's right, Girl Defined, also known as the literal twins from The Shining grown up. I genuinely feel like these girls are more dead behind the eyes than in the film The Shining. Also, immediate red flag. We've got a moose head back here.
I never saw The Shining, but I did see the Tyler Oliveira, Brent Rivera video. So the only thing I can picture is these girls where Brent was like, oh, I don't know them. How'd they get here? Didn't hire them. But then Tyler talked to them and they were like, yeah, we're here for the Brent Rivera video. Drama way before my time.
You're dressed up as XOMG Pop members. Please tell me you know who that is. I watched the full 49-minute long video and found my favorite parts, and I'm here to share. Mind you, the whole purpose of this video is to promote their new PDF download for purchase on girldefinedshop.myshopify.com.
Oh, why would you plug them? I'm afraid of what his favorite parts are going to be. I'm so scared that he's going to be like, I really, really like the part where they talk about how, no one's like masturbating to the scripture. Because that's so true. Just kidding, I do it.
Finding freedom from masturbation PDF download. What the fuck? You're acting like you want to help people, and then you do that shit? You're telling me that there's going to be young women watching these videos like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to heaven or not. And you're asking them to pay you for the information that you're about to give in this free 49-minute long video. Well, maybe you should pay for it. Now, some of you may be wondering, masturbation, what is it?
I feel like Jake isn't the right person to criticize people asking for money. Surprise, you're on YouTube, right? Somewhere or another, this is all monetized. And I don't think that's a surprise. Jake's video is monetized. This video is monetized. Their video is monetized. And they're also selling a product. Would any of us do it for free? Sure. I made so many videos before getting monetized. And for a while, I was like, it's never going to happen. This is just, I'm going to consider this a hobby. I'm sure Jake had a moment where photography, dance, whatever else he was doing was not for the sake of money. But we're here now, and sitting here in a circle criticizing each other for monetizing our products is not what I thought we were doing today. Do I have a monetization joke? Like, what if Jake's stealing from you? Jake Doolittle, more like Snake Doolittle, am I right? And then he talks to himself like Dr. Doolittle. Did that work? Did we like that one?
Now, some of you may be wondering, masturbation, what is it?
It would be helpful, though, if we start with some definitions.
It's an important part of the video, and if the whole video is on masturbation, it makes sense for Jake to be like, what is it? I didn't think to do that at all. I knew I was going to let them define it, but I did not think to like point it out, which is my own fault. I should have. But also, did any of you going into that video or this one not know what it was? Like, did the definition given to you by them change your idea of what masturbation is?
Okay. People are very confused. Like, what are we talking about?
Oh, honey, I'm not confused. Just the nastiest guy. That's my impression of the grossest man in the world. I know exactly what to do. I just think it's funny. Like, you need to define it. I mean, can't it be anything? Some people find pleasure in popping balloons.
I'm not going to stop and criticize everything I just don't agree with or think that he should have left alone. I did that enough in the Lily Phillips video. But yeah, they're doing a video on masturbation geared towards young unmarried women. It makes sense for them to define it, right? Whether or not they expect the people coming in to know. Like, these are people who have been shamed and repressed due to their religion, so they can't talk about it. And they said earlier, if you're afraid of Google, right? So here's the definition. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, I'm not defending Girl Defined. Should not have made that video, but I understand what they're doing. I think there's just so much more to criticize than having defined masturbation with the dictionary.
Some people find pleasure in popping balloons. Is that in the Bible? Let's get some clarity on what God allows and what God doesn't allow.
On exactly what we're talking about when we use the word masturbation. I don't have the dictionary definition.
I have it pulled up.
You got the word masturbation. I don't have the dictionary.
He hates that word? I guess in reference to masturbation, what word would you not hate? It's a little like how he refused to say sex, right? He was just like working his way around it during the entire Lily Phillips video. I hate masturbation. I would rather them say diddle. They don't call me Jake Doolittle for nothing. And then it's him going, I actually read the Bible, okay? And I just want to let you know that God said masturbation is wrong if you're doing it with your dominant hand. But I have a submissive hand for a reason. Oh, Jake.
You have the definition
so
of masturbation?
According to...
Okay, cool. Thank you, literal spider eyelashes. Get your shit fixed.
Stimulate.
Her eyelashes look fine. You do not make me defend girl defined, Jake. That's wild. Her eyelashes look fine. Worry about the dumb word she's saying.
Sexual self-gratification.
Thank you, Katrina, for that. I don't know their names, but she looks like a Katrina. And this is a Cassidy or a Beth. More of a Beth.
He knows their names. They say it in the video, so they're at least in his like subconscious, and that's why he pulls Beth out. Because one of them's Bethany. Which one? I don't know. I actually don't.
The word masturbation is not found in scripture.
So are you reaching? Is all of this just a reach to sell your shitty PDF, your digital download for $7.99, you piece of shit? Also, look at this pause. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! What a cool face. I don't really understand this. How can you at first define masturbation and then later on say, well, it isn't in the Bible, so what are we really talking about? We're going to say what we feel. Are you actually quoting the Bible at this point, or is it just feeling?
So that's a really good criticism because that's their entire identity. They use the Bible as a trust me, it's in there, bro, not really like a reference point. They will quote the Bible, they will, but they won't finish sentences and they'll cherry pick what some of those definitions are. Something that they brought up, which also leads Jake to bring up, is that masturbation itself is not in the Bible, but I don't think every little thing has to be. And I've made the same joke where I'm like, oh, the Bible doesn't say I shouldn't use my drone to go stalk Drake at his penthouse. I saw a Twitter video yesterday. So does that mean it's not a sin if I do it? Like, you have to understand that there are like other things. Masturbation to them as an idea is sexual gratification. And so that makes it sexual. And is sex a sin? And then now you get into that conversation with them. They're using masturbation to talk about it. They're using it wrong. And I think it's a dumb conversation to have. Like, congrats. Somebody gave you an orgasm in your life. For people like them, they're going to be the only ones who are able to do it. So you might as well do it and not worry about whether or not God is going to judge you for it. If there is a God sitting in heaven right now, he's not watching you masturbate. He's not judging you for it. He's learning how to freestyle. And he's doing a bad job.
God is the author of sex.
God is the author of sex. Just never thought I'd hear that in a sentence. What are you saying? God makes me fuck. God lets me fuck.
Something that I think is so interesting with commentary is that if you gave us all the same piece of media, we would all analyze it differently and we would all have different things to say about different parts. Like, there are so many things that like I didn't care enough to sit and talk about that he does, or the exact opposite, that he's like,
God makes me fuck. God lets me fuck.
Like that, I would have never thought to say. Also, Jake, does he? Do you do a lot of that? Wrong hole, Jake. It's not the wrong hole if God put it there. God's perfect design said that's not the wrong hole. But it's like a wooden hole in his floorboard.
Wasn't something Hollywood invented? What are you saying? What else has been made up by Hollywood? Well, a lot of things, but I'm thinking about like in their head, what has been made up about Hollywood. What an interesting thing to say. Like, yeah, if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, we wouldn't have figured out what feels good and what doesn't. So as they're defining masturbation and where it is in the Bible, even though they can't find it word for word, I pulled a time code that really made me laugh. It just sounded like these two women are giddy over a fan fiction, but they're actually reading a quote from the Bible.
She shall be called woman, for she was taken from the man. And
ooh, girl, you know what that means. They were gonna ooh. What the fuck?
Yeah, I made a mistake. I made a mistake watching this. I really am not judging people for this. If you think this is funny, cool. Like, there are plenty of channels I watch that you probably don't, and there are plenty of channels that you watch that I probably don't, and that's okay. That's dope. I think Jake Doolittle can have people that have like him or his sense of humor, and I don't have to be one of them, and I can stop worrying about it.
You know what that means? They were gonna ooh. What the fuck?
I don't like that. Yeah. Was Jake homeschooled? Because I think Chad, right? Chad said that. I don't think I'd be like this if I wasn't homeschooled. Because unfortunately, and I will say unfortunately, when I was a kid and I got made fun of, I decided I was just going to beat people up. And so I beat a lot of people up. And that kind of goes into the whole like 8 years of wrestling. So like if Jake wasn't homeschooled and he had to deal with someone like me as a kid, that would have sucked for him.
Fuck. This is the craziest, most childish shit I've ever seen. Ooh, yeah. Bone of her bone and flesh of her flesh. Jesus, daddy, let me fuck you. Now, what does Girl Defined think about sex outside of marriage?
He hasn't gotten to the part, right, where they talk about sleeping with Jesus. I wonder if he'll talk about it at all.
That's when it happens. You're right, because until you legally sign paperwork saying that you're married and hand over a ring and, you know, write each other in your wills, all these things that are pretty simple. None of, like, what the fuck changes after getting married? What are you saying?
You don't have to marry someone to sleep with them, and you probably shouldn't, unless you're, like, been with one person forever. Like, probably consider exploring your options romantically, also sexually, and then settling down. I think I'm just asking for too much, and that was a comment on Reddit, right? Because, like, I don't have an issue with people making jokes. I make plenty of them, and they don't all land. I don't have an issue with people not taking people like them seriously. You don't have to. They're not serious people. They're semi-grifters. They have something they believe in, and they sell courses with it. It's not grifting per se, but it is when the people that they're selling to are a little disadvantaged in that they're being shamed to look for this here instead of being able to talk about it with their parents, their church, or their friends. They need to hide it and go online, and so they find things like Girl Defined where they could just watch it in private. I do kind of wish Jake, instead of just being like, oh my god, ha ha ha, noises, kind of took this as an opportunity to be like, here's an actual thought I have, here's a way I relate to it, because he does. I'm not making that up, right? He said that he is waiting until marriage. You don't have to tell us why. It's not any of my business, but you can state that it's a normal thing for a lot of people to do, and it doesn't have to be done through religion.
Telling me that your fucking wedding night is like, oh, I actually feel comfortable now. I'm losing my virginity and I'm comfortable. How many times have you fucking heard that?
As Christian women, we need to get this.
I don't think that's right at all. I don't think they're saying you just magically get comfortable to have sex. I think you could be comfortable with having sex prior to that. You're just waiting until marriage, right? That's more of their point. Not suddenly I'm ready. You could be ready prior to, and then just wait. And you should be ready prior to if you're waiting. Even if you're not waiting, you should be ready to have sex before you have it. And I don't think that is like a revelation. They get into revelations later. In the same way that I'm so bad with names, like with them, Kristen, Bethany Kristen, is that right? I'll never know. I'm really bad with Bible book names, but I remember a lot of the stories. I was raised Catholic, so from popping out until 14, I went to mass, I went to catechism, I went to all these different things. And so I remember a lot of the stories. I don't remember the names. And I also got them all in Spanish. And so even if I did remember the names, I don't know that they would always help me. I don't know. I don't know if they're the same in Spanish and English. I never checked.
And he plans things intentionally on purpose for our good and for our thriving and for his glory. And so
then why does it feel so good? If he only meant it for a woman, then what's going on?
Jake is like that dude who tried to make a joke out of tweeting out, God doesn't even make the female orgasm necessary for reproduction. So obviously sex is only for the man, LOL. And it like completely backfires because nobody knows that he's joking because he's trying to make a joke, but also like he's not funny.
That's my impression of Crystalia. So here's something that brought me a lot of joy before we get into the nitty gritty conversation about masturbation. And trust me, it gets nitty and also gritty. The girl on
and then it's him doing the gritty as a form of self-pleasure. Max, I gotta stop talking. I like how he said it brings him joy. Like it's the Netflix show, right? Where he has to like lay out all of his stuff. Does this spark joy? And then throw it out whether or not it does. Does this spark joy? And it's like his YouTube plaque? Yes. His keyboard? No. His fiance? No. This video of Girl Defined? Yes. Keeping that on loop for the rest of my life. And then he loses his house. His house? No. Where's he gonna live now? Where are you going to live now, Jake?
Under a rock. The girl on the left said that she was doing some research, going to listen to a podcast that secular women would listen to. This girl isn't doing research. She's listening to Call Her Daddy. What are you saying? What? She's like, yeah, I just came across a podcast. Have you ever heard of Barstool Sports?
Because she had a female sex therapist on. And so I was like, I just want to hear this conversation and hear what kind of questions non-religious therapist on. And so I was like, I just want to hear this conversation and hear what kind of questions.
The word female, I guess. Females, haha.
Secular women are asking very much the same questions that Christian women are asking.
Oh, I wonder why. It's almost like religion has nothing to do with it. I really, really like imagining this girl over here listening to Call Her Daddy like your grandma read 50 Shades of Grey. Like... What the fuck? Now listen, if you didn't know this, if you have any urge for any of this non-Christ-like stuff, just suppress your emotions. Just suppress your feelings.
I think this would be a great time to talk specifically to single women who are in that place of struggle and who are even questioning like if it's really a big deal or not. Like,
I'll tell you right now, to them, it is. And they go on for about 2 minutes talking about nothing, looping back to the fact that any of your sexual gratification is disgusting.
Oh man, I was trying really hard not to find too many problems. I just don't like the way that Jake shames people, I guess, because in their religion and even in what they're doing, it is so rooted in shame that that's what they're doing. And shaming them again isn't helping the people that they're trying to reach, because we can absolutely sit here and be like, Girl Defined is stupid. They look like their grandparents are related. But it would be kind of dumb to sit here and be like their entire audience is full of people just like them. Part of their audience is going to be people who are being shamed in their religion, young women especially, who cannot find this information in person with their parents, their church, everything we've already talked about. And so they have to go online. And when they go online, these are the people that greet them. These are the people at the front door of women growing up as Christian, wanting to be as good as Christian as they can be, which is not inherently a problem. Problem is them now indoctrinating them to being like, if you're a good Christian, you have to remember masturbation is a sin, homosexuality is a sin, all these things that are now problems. So sitting here just shaming them makes me feel really bad, because there has to be a part of their audience that is really just looking for guidance. And let's say they see this Jake Doolittle video. Now it's, oh, I shouldn't have been listening to Girl Defined, but also who do I listen to? I don't have the right answer, but I don't think it's the right thing to do to also shame them. And then what about the people who are young and discovering masturbation, coming on here and being like, I don't know if I agree with masturbation being a sin, like it just feels like a bodily need, whatever. They see Jake Doolittle being like, you're disgusting. Whether or not he's quoting them, he's just shaming them, and in turn shames the people who are looking for help and for guidance. I think it could be the person who's loud and makes jokes and goes, oh my God, hubba bubba, whatever, whether he's trying to be funny or he's advertising gum, without looking at people looking for guidance and being like, disgusting, gross, you should just feel how I feel. We should all have a little bit more shame, but it shouldn't be in things like this. It should be in posting hour-long videos on the internet talking about how you used to masturbate all the time, but now that you're married, it's a sin for everyone else to do it.
it is a sexual act, right? I mean, you are stimulating your genitals as a single.
What? Oh, you're doing what? What the fuck are you talking about? You're
One day, Jake Doolittle's gonna see a naked woman, and I hope to God he does not react this way. I hope to God he doesn't do this. I hope to God he doesn't do the whole, if that's a little Twitter post. His eyes are going to literally cartoon pop out of his head and break his glasses, dude. Now you're gonna have glass in your eyes. And that's your biblical punishment for looking at a naked woman, Jake. Why would you do that? It's a sin.
You're disgusting. So shut everything down, you absolute freak. Your feelings are not normal. And if you want to know how not normal your feelings are, we're actually going to make you buy this fucking digital download PDF, you dumb fuck. I almost bought it, but then I was like, I don't want to give money to these idiots.
I'm glad he didn't buy it. Also, they're not saying it's not normal at all. This isn't helping. He's never going to watch this. What they're saying is it's normal, however, you shouldn't do it. It's a sin, which is like a whole different conversation than you're just weird, you're gross, you're disgusting. You look like what Nick Kroll would look like if he didn't have money, which is like an unnecessary thing to say. What's your problem with Nick Kroll? I watched Big Mouth. I don't know anything else about him.
If you wanted the steps to feeling really terrible about yourself, here's the first one.
1. Is masturbation in line with God's design and purpose for sex and intimacy?
Okay.
Yes, it is. That's why your arm is long enough to reach down there. Again, otherwise you'd have T-Rex arms. Do you think that's why God got rid of dinosaurs? If there is a God, he was up there like, all right, masturbate. What are you doing? Oh, they can't reach. I have a baseball here somewhere. What do you guys... What do you guys think Jake looks like when he throws a baseball? Is that mean? Listen, it's kind of funny. In my head, it's really funny.
And like we've talked about, sex and intimacy were created for marriage. It wasn't a random act that God gave to all people. It was a celebration of covenant that God gave for a husband and wife.
And that's it. And that's one of our biggest problems in the United States today. Christians will say that and then look over everything that priests are doing. Okay, so Brittany over here on the right wants to let you know how wrong you are in looking up pornographic images, right? The P word that we all know and love. You can't tell me that this girl, when she was younger, didn't look up naked, pick your thing. You know what I mean? Like,
you think Jake is on the hub looking up people hugging? And then his fiance walks in and he like throws his phone out of panic. I wasn't watching anything, I promise. Hide your boobs.
There is no difference between signing a paper saying that you're married and prior. Sex is still going to be a shameful, disgusting, sloppy deed. Now they're going to talk about women.
Is that an actual thought, or is that him thinking about what they think?
Do people feel more comfortable sexually in a long-term relationship? And it said yes, which, yeah, I mean, again, like there is no difference between signing a paper saying that you're married and prior. Sex is still going to be a shameful, disgusting, sloppy deed.
Oh, I think that's like his actual thought. That sex is shameful and sloppy, which would explain a lot about him. I think we can separate the idea of love and commitment and the act of marriage. I think if you were to say to me that your sex life got better after you got married, I wouldn't tell you you were wrong. There has to be like some part of you for a lot of people that just gets completely dissolved by like this commitment to you, to God if you believe in it, to each other legally. Whatever that is, if you told me that felt good, as long as you weren't making a point of being like, that's how you people should get married instead of just being whores, I would not disagree with you. Like there has to be such like this emotional catharsis of being like, this is my spouse. Sure, this is my long-term partner, but now they're my spouse. I'm theirs completely and forever. That must feel so nice. And I'm not going to tell you you're wrong if you tell me that that's true.
Now they're going to talk about women who they know and how uncomfortable they are with their bodies.
I don't think I've ever met one that's like, no, I read scripture and masturbate and it's great. Like
she does. And that's the face she makes while fucking doing it. What the fuck? Don't make that goddamn face. Your face looks like Play-Doh. Oh, shit. Okay. The idea of reading and rubbing really tickles my fancy. Are you joking me?
Is your fancy what you call your Jake Deweyner? Is that what that is? He's like, reading and rubbing. I do that during mass. They're like, all right, everyone get on your knees. He's like, I'm already there.
Yes, I masturbate and read the Bible at the same time. One of my favorite things to do. I know that she didn't mean that they were doing it at the same time, more in like a periodic thing, but it's fine. Now, if you ever wondered how to get over your sexual urges, you need to push, repress. Whatever you're feeling is nasty and disgusting. What God doesn't teach you is that sometimes there's life hacks involved. You can basically masturbate, but not
pursue good things for others. I know you mentioned, Bethany, in your singleness, as the more you looked outward, the more you poured into others, serving, looked for ways to bless people. Even for me, practical things like exercise, very helpful. Like I've got all this pent up sex drive. Like, okay, I don't just have to sit here and cry about it. Like I can go run.
It sounds like every alpha male who's like, work out, fatty, get up and move. You're going to feel so much better when you're skinny. What the fuck? Yeah, do not do anything to yourself. And also, you better run around and not be fed. God's word.
That was a lot. And I'm not going to say too much more about it because that had to have hurt you just as much as it hurt me. The accident attempt was wild. Like full commitment when you know you're about to do a terrible job and then leaving it in. Congratulations, bro. I wish I had that kind of confidence.
What about masturbation in marriage specifically? So addressing...
It's gross. Don't fucking do it. Don't even think about it. The hell are you saying? I think I figured out how to watch this kind of video.
I think I've realized fully that my problem isn't with people like him who make surface level jokes and just want to have fun, because there's nothing wrong with that inherently. Do I find him annoying and a little dumb? Yeah, but what does that matter? Who cares what I think, right? I think my issue is there's nothing personable about it. There's never a time when he's like, here's my experience, here's what I think. And you don't need that. I'm looking for that, which is why I watch the people that I watch, not people like him.
Jerk off in the corner. That's what she means. Jerk off in the corner while she does her business. That's hot.
Jake Doolittle reminds me of a young version of the, oh yeah, guy from TikTok. Do we know who I'm talking about?
We're pouring concrete on our water meter. Oh yeah. We're gonna fill this water meter up.
That's what Jake Doolittle reminds me of. So, yeah, I mean, he's funny. He's cool. Has an HVAC tattoo.
Your words are turning me on, girl. The fuck?
But for married women, it's questions like, is oral okay? Is it okay for me to help stimulate myself while my husband and I are together? Things like that. And in what I see in scripture, there is no boundary against those things.
Let's go have fun. Wait, so if nothing's off limits after marriage, then doesn't this, like, how does any of this make any sense? Like, they're like, yeah, have sex to reproduce, but while you do it, make it a 24-hour event because you will not be getting one of these anytime soon.
They have an entire section on the Book of Solomon where they talk about sex as this like gorgeous act between two married people, and they kind of just do whatever they want to please each other. So they mention explicitly in the video that sex can be fun. To say that, oh, I thought it was just for reproduction is like just like a lazy thing to say. Like, criticize people on what they've said.
This whole thing made me really, really upset, and I wanted something that was more written out. So I went on a Christian blog that talks about what's okay in the bedroom, and I found a list. What does God clearly say no to? Sex outside of marriage, having sex with someone who is not your spouse, homosexuality, lustful passions, coarse joking. Well, I'm going to hell.
They actually full list that out in the video. Interesting. I think he doesn't pay attention too well to the things that he criticizes. And I miss a lot, especially when some of these videos get longer. I do. And I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, I should have said this at this point. And it just helps me with the next one and the idea of paying attention. There are so many things that I think he just did not pay attention to in the videos that I've seen him cover.
It was just the coarse joking, okay? It later on goes to say that temptation is bad, any fantasy is bad, even online relationships, which I think is really fascinating because that would be lustful. And then later on in this article, they quote this fucking stupid thing from the Bible where in Corinthians, apparently someone said, everything is permissible for me, but I will not be mastered by anything. So it's like, I love this so much. It's like, do anal, do everything in the fucking book. No kinks are out. You've seen what our Christian leaders have done. No kink is bad, okay?
No kink is bad unless you're in a feet. I don't need to know about it. Keep that to yourself. Don't make me kink shame, all right? Like, I spend most of my time making fun of people. I'll do it. Some of you like being yelled at. I cry. Don't yell at me.
What does the Bible say about choking?
The Bible says if you choke, you lose a wrestling match and have to break a hip.
Let's go, girls.
I did create a resource. It's called the Ultimate Sex Course for Christian Women. And
amazing. Perfect. The Ultimate Sex Course for Christian Women. Wait, no, this can't be. Wait, Timothy 6:9-11. Not a good day in history. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. What about this one? Elastigirl 5:10. Whoever loves money never has enough. Oh, that's not good. What about this one? Mark 8:36. For what? I'm sorry, but this reminds me of like when you go to Chipotle and they say like a first name and a time that your order was placed for. Anyways, for what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? How much was that resource again? How much was that digital download? What does the Bible say about selling digital goods? Like, we have a girl-defined NFT coming out pretty soon. It's signed up to the blockchain. Shut the fuck up. You're idiots. If you want to become a member, then click the link in the description below.
Don't become a member to my channel. I don't have anything set up. It's just there because I just had to do it because of the YouTube onboarding. Okay. But like, there's nothing. You don't get anything. Like if you're a Twitch sub, you get a bunch of emotes, but also I don't stream that much anymore. If you're in the Patreon, you get extra videos. But if you become a channel member, I'm so sorry. I get the money. Thank you. But like, there's nothing there. Jake Doolittle is what you become when you don't have a personality, but you were gifted a big audience. And the thing is, could he be funny? Yes. And it happens so often in so many sports or shows or different forms of entertainment where people are given too much too fast. If you put me in front of 1 million people right now, I don't think too many of them would enjoy me for who I am. If the day I started streaming, you gave me an audience of 20 people, I would not have been able to keep them. I had no idea what I was doing. I was funny in my personal life, but I didn't know how to translate that. I had ideas, thoughts. I liked to play Pokemon in a way that made it a really hard puzzle, but I had no idea how to be a person on camera. If you put me in front of those people now, 200, 2,000, I think I'd be fine. But I think when you almost give someone an entire audience because of their interaction with other big creators, it kind of gives them the idea that they are as funny or as polished as them when they're not. And it doesn't really help them grow. I'm not saying I wouldn't take it. I would. If you were like, hey, Max, 300K tomorrow, I would go, yeah, absolutely. Give it to me. Would I fail? Probably. I don't know that I would be able to take that audience and give them what they would get out of another big creator that way. Not yet. And there are levels, right? Like Danny Gonzalez and Drew Gooden are just so incredible at everything they do. Chad and Gabby Bell are just so great. And I could watch any of them talk about pretty much anything. Jake is someone who probably should have been a smaller creator for a lot longer, just for the sake of polishing out his ideas. Again, I don't think he's irredeemable in any way. I think if he just took a minute to figure out who he was and how to say what he wanted to say, he'd be all right. He didn't come on here and go on some like racist rant or abuse anyone, as far as I know. He's just a weird dude who got too weird for the internet. He had a moment of weakness, and it unfortunately was a really bad one. I think sometimes we as a community are too overly hurtful in the way that we criticize some of the younger people. I'm lucky enough to not really been a part of the internet until I was in my mid-20s. And now that I'm 27, I get to be like, this is who I am as a person. Your opinions don't hurt my feelings. I take a lot of criticism, and I think I take it pretty well. And whenever someone has an idea or a thought that I go, oh, I didn't think of that, that's a good idea, I try and introduce it into who I am in the next video. But when you have a bunch of 18, 19, 20, up to now probably 23, 24-year-olds because of COVID, experiencing the world for the first time through the internet, and they're just being bullied, it makes sense that a lot of them kind of shut down or don't know how to expel their feelings. Lewis McClung is 20, and he had a bit of a meltdown. I probably would have too at 20. Jake, I think, is 23, 22. It makes sense that he reacts like a 23-year-old whose entire life paused at 18, 19 because of COVID. I get that. The problem now is, can you actually come back a little smarter? I don't think these are people who have done anything to the point where we have to be like, nope, can't ever watch them again. I think they're people that we can be annoyed by and stop supporting for a while until they figure out who they want to be and how they want to be those people. But again, like, I can find Jake annoying and also understand that he probably has an audience. It's dead right now. His last video has been up a week and has 4,000 views, which is a good amount for a lot of channels, but not for one that has just under 300,000 subscribers still. I am no one, and I'm never going to be anyone. I just have a lot of thoughts and opinions and feelings. And I think that if Jake spent some time just learning how to be a person, he'd be fine. I don't think we need to be overly critical of all the things that he's just a weird dude about, like the whole like, oh, your boobs are showing. I think it's just like a weird moment. I don't think there's anything more to that. I hope one day he's funny. I hope that if nothing else, he comes back and he's just funny and people can't click away from his videos. But right now he's just loud and obnoxious. And if he were my little brother, I would tell people I was an only child. I don't have merch to plug. I don't have a charity. I don't have anything other than myself, this channel, Twitch if you really want to watch me live, but it's a lot of me making jokes. Like, I'm not joking, that Girl Defined video on stream took 3+ hours to film because we just like, at some point we just talked about the Bible for an hour and I just sat here being like, here's the story I remember, and none of that made it into the video, but that's kind of what I do when I'm talking to people on stream. And I have a Patreon if you like 90 Day Fiance and I Love a Mama's Boy right now. But that's it. Besides that, I'm going to ask you to go be a person and I'm going to go do the same thing. This is such like a weird moment because I've never really asked someone to do anything with me, and I try not to ask you all to do anything ever really besides like the video and subscribe maybe. But I'm going to text my partner that I love her, and then I will see her in a couple of days. And I hope that you take this opportunity to also message someone or look at someone if you're next to anyone and tell them that you love them too. And I hope that they love you just a little more and that you'll never get to realize that. All right, get out of here. Tomorrow's video is already filmed, so I'm done. I'm taking down my camera after this so that I can take it to my girlfriend's house. If there's anything you guys want to tell me before I go, in case, you know, what's been happening with all the planes happens again, then drop it in the comment section. Because this is kind of the last video I'm filming for the week, Toast isn't in here, but I'm going to give you the chance to say bye to her because I would feel bad if I was on the other end. So let me go get her.